Hey, and welcome to the podcast with Brooke. I'm really glad you're here. Come hang out with me for a little bit while we talk about business, ideas, and stuff that doesn't always get said out loud. Today, we're going to talk about fear. And I've talked about fear on this podcast before in various different capacities. There are so many different kinds of fears that as business owners, we have to come to terms with. We have to understand. We have to have the language for. We have to understand it within ourselves so that we can work through it and we can persevere. Tons of them. And I'm going to tell you today about all of the ones that I thought I had problems with. And granted, to some extent, I did with most of them, many of them, all of them. But the one fear that I did not have the language for, the one fear that was actually the root of all of the things that I needed to solve in order to move forward in business. And I didn't have the language for it, and I don't hear it talked about at all. So let's dive into that. When I was building, well, let's start here. I've been building a business or businesses for the last 20 years of my life online in some capacity. Some of them very simple, some of them weren't of my own doing, and also my own businesses over the last 20 years. I've done a lot and all in this online space, and I love it. I love the journey of it. But through that journey, there was a lot of things that I did wrong, right? And I had to learn. Okay, let's adjust and shift and change and do something different the next time because this isn't working. Some of those things were tactical, but a lot of those things were mindset and fear. And some of the fears that were brought up to me because the specific problem that I was having was building a business, getting it to a certain point, and then being like, this isn't working. This isn't the thing that I'm supposed to be doing, burning it down, trying something new, starting from scratch. So people would try to help me with that. I would have coaches to help me with that. I would have, friends to help me with that. I would look for the help myself. And here are the things that came up for me. One of them was, you must have a fear of money. Now, a fear of money can be so many different things, right? A fear of money can be that you have this inherent belief that money is evil. And if you have money, then you will then be evil. Another fear with money is that you don't deserve it. There's a lot of things, even if we have a pretty good relationship with money, patriarchal and social pressures make us feel a certain way about money and deserving money and things like that, regardless of how hard we try not to feel that way. It's systemic. So tackling the fear of money. I read books. I did the work. I figured out what my relationship with money looks like. I learned tools to help me with some of the things that I was stuck on and expanded my knowledge in that area about myself and about how I run business. When I was done with that one, I was like, well, that was helpful, but I still feel like there's something missing. There's still something here that it's not the thing that's going to help me from getting to a point and burning my business down. So it's not that I fear making money. It's not that when I find success, I decide I'm not going to actually accept the success because I'm afraid of money. All right, so let's move to the next one. The next fear that I tried to tackle or that was brought up to me was a fear of success. And fear of success and fear of failure are very similar and kind of overlap in a lot of ways. When I imagine a fear of success, I imagine that fear being people are going to be relying on me. If I get to a point of success where someone or people or whatever have put me on a pedestal and have expectations of me in this business, I'm going to be held to those expectations. And if I don't meet them, I'm failing. I suck. I shouldn't be doing this anymore. More success that you have, the higher the pedestal and the further you can fall. And I did have some work to do around that. I did have work in that to do. But now I understand it better. My relationship with my fear of success or my fear of failure, I have the tools to work through that when I hit those points where I feel that tension and that fear coming up. But that still isn't solving the problem. Another fear that was brought up would be a fear of being seen. And I actually shared something on my Instagram a couple weeks back, week ago, whatever, about this fear. And it's really interesting the way that I understand my fear of being seen now, because as a kid growing up, I come from a pretty musical family and I sang. And I would sing from the age of 3. I was singing in front of crowds and it never bothered me. I even got to the point where I was competing and I ended up earning the chance to open for Rascal Flatts once. And I was singing in front of more people than I'd ever sang in front of in my life. And not only that, opening for a band that was kind of a big deal at the time. I did not have fear about that or nerves about stage fright about that. What I feared more in life was sitting down one-on-one with somebody And what that meant to me is that like I had this fear of being examined or actually being seen for who I was. I wasn't able to perform like I can on stage. If I have to take the mask off and someone actually gets to see who I am. So yeah, I had a fear of visibility and I still have to work through that from time to time, but I understand it. I understand my relationship with that fear. I have the tools to help me work through it and I understand when it's coming up in my body and I can get through it. That wasn't it either. So, friend, those are a lot of fears to work through and not be able to solve the problem. And that was frustrating. Am I perfect? Am I like healed from all of the fear? No. So I thought, well, maybe it's just I have to continue doing it until everything just clicks and balances perfectly. But the fact of the matter is, fear will probably always exist. I don't get to get rid of fear. I just need the tools to work with it. And that's something I did. So I was lost. I was like, what is it? When I started to dig in deeper and understood that these things weren't the things that were actually making me burn down these businesses over and over, I started to understand about myself that I have a fear of permanence. And this is something that I think a lot of us deal with, especially multi-passionate people deal with. People who love to evolve and change and pivot and learn and collect skills and continually, gather information and let that information evolve who they are as a person based on the knowledge that when you're a person like that, a lot of times I think the fear we're trying to name is a fear of permanence. We fear our business, the thing we built it on, is going to be the only thing we do for the rest of our lives. That doesn't sound good to me. I don't want to do one thing for the rest of my life. I know this about myself because I have a lot of skills and a lot of things that I love to do and a lot of ways that I love to help people. And the idea of monotony in business absolutely terrifies me. So when I was building my businesses to a certain point and it was starting to succeed, I was starting to see, oh no, this is going to be the thing that I'm known for. This is the thing that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. It's succeeding. I've proven it can succeed. I have to continue doing it. Oh no, but not if I burn it down like right before it gets good. Not then. If I burn it right before it starts to make money, right before it starts to get actually really good and successful, and I don't have to worry about it then. Then I can just start something new and try and see if that next thing is the thing that's going to feel good to permanently do for the rest of my life. So I was continually looking for something that felt perfectly aligned, something that would hold my wholeness, all of me, and allow me to, do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And to be perfectly honest, that business does not exist. Not only does it not exist, and don't worry, there's a happy ending here, so don't get too down on yourself about this next part. Not only does it not exist, it is not celebrated. We may say the words, we celebrate multi-passionate people, or I am a multi-passionate person and have a business that's multi-passionate. We may say those words, but the things we see celebrated and rewarded in business culture is not that. We see niched down boxes with keywords so that you are categorizable and you have good SEO. That's what's rewarded. And that's what we see. No matter how many times people say, I'm actually multi passionate and do lots of things, we don't see people build businesses like that. We don't see people build a business that holds multi passion and holds evolution and shifting and changing and learning and adjusting. We don't see that modeled ever, because we are supposed to come down to a pinprick of who we are and put that out into the world because it's so much easier to market. And when that doesn't align with who you are as a human being, but you know in your heart of heart and soul of souls you're meant for entrepreneurship, well, shit. What are you supposed to do? And this is when I started diving into what it looks like to actually have a fully multi-passionate business, a business that holds the whole person, that allows you to not have to do one thing for the rest of your life, that allows you to have the capacity to feature more of your skills than just one and bring part of all of who you are and the evolution of who you are into your business. And I've figured it out for me. And I want to say this clearly. I've figured it out for me. For you, my dear sweet baby, it will be different. But the cool thing is the work to figure out how that works for you is the same. The journey I went on, the journey I've taken, the steps I have taken, the understanding I have, and my capability for seeing things and patterns and understanding the underneath of what's happening with you and your business That is how we build a business for you that works for you. There is a path there. This business exists, but we cannot take the form of someone else's business and expect just because it worked for them, it's going to work for us. We can't shrink ourselves into a pinprick of who we are in order to market and be present and live within this business. We, for some reason, you and me, our identity is in our business and we want it there because that's how we want to run our business. And when our identity is tied to our business, we have to learn a safe way to do that. We have to learn the best way where we can tie our identity to our business, but not tie our identity to things that aren't shifting because we shift. We need to learn how to have stability in our business, but still have play and creativity. We need to learn how to hold all of us in a business and allow ourselves to grow and expand and also find stability. And that's not easy because we don't see it done all that often. But if you're looking now, you might be able to see it modeled more often. If you look at somebody's business, you might be able to see it. And the thing is, and so I want to help you figure that out for you. I'm inviting you to book a clarity call with me. Sit down. Let's talk it out. Let's see what's going on with you. And let's see if it's something I can help you with. And working together would make sense. Let's see if you like me. You might not. That's okay too. We're all adults here. Not everybody likes me, and that's okay. We're all the villain in somebody's story. But no, we would sit down and we'd talk it out. We would talk out the things that are happening in your business, the things that don't feel right, the things that feel heavy, and maybe you don't even know what it is. But I can talk to you and learn things from you and see those things for you. So let's talk about it. The link to book a clarity call is in the show notes. So let's do that. On top of that, I would love to know if this hit for you. Did you feel this in your heart and in your soul? Was there any point when you said, oh my, that is me? Hop in my DMs. I'm on Instagram as with.brooke, also link in the show notes. I would love to talk to you about it. I would love to hear what hit for you in this episode and to connect with you and your business and to learn more about you. Because we multi-passionate women, we have to stick together, my friend. Thank you for tuning in this week. I've had a good time hanging out with you, and I hope you'll come back again. Until next time, go do the things.